Welcome to the morning feed. Listener discretion is advised as we are discussing details of an ongoing criminal investigation. Some may have recently seen that the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch has been indicted for trafficking. And we're going to get into some of the details and share with you a few links in the description about where you can go to read more and keep up with the case. As they release new information, new documents about the case, we'll add them to the case file that we have for Michael Jeffries, the former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. Now, we're going to go over some other information too that maybe people don't know about. Just so everybody knows, this has been filed in the United States District Court of the Eastern District of New York. So if you're looking for documents on your own, that's the court you're going to be looking for them out of. The indictment was filed in Long Island, and the defendants named in the indictment will be Michael Jeffries, the former CEO, his partner, Matthew Smith, and an employee, James Jacobson. So the retail clothing company Abercrombie and Fitch, they've survived economic recessions, multiple scandals ever since they were founded in New York in the 1800s. Now, the rise and fall of the company has been widely reported on multiple times, including statements from different CEOs or perhaps scandalous things that the company has done to kind of push on the boundaries of what would be typical advertising or typical business practices for an apparel brand, especially one that targeted the clientele that they did. So there's been lawsuits, rumors, public incidents, but it has not stopped them from just continually rising from the ashes. The company, like I said, they've been around since the 1800s. Now, during the 1990s and the early 2000s, the company's CEO was Michael, also known as Mike Jeffries. He was known to upset the public at times with his commentary about who their ideal customer is. He later apologized for his statements, probably because they had a lot of backlash. That's just allegedly, in my opinion, as to why most people do that when they have really good PR agencies working for them. So in 2023, Abercrombie and Fitch faced a lawsuit that named Mike Jeffries and alleged abuse against individuals who were sought out by the company for employment. Michael Jeffries is now 80, and he was arrested just the other day on October the 22nd, yesterday, in relation to a 16-count indictment that alleges he acted criminally, that he had criminal sexual behavior dating all the way back to 1992, all the way up to 2014. The former CEO was released after being arrested and posted a $10 million bond. Now, there are people who are probably going to look at this case and say, how in the world did he get out? I agree with you, but I also can explain some of the reasons as to why he likely did get out, and we'll either get to that in this or in the next episode about this ongoing matter, because I do think that's important in order for the public to understand what the difference is between Sean Combs not being released on his trafficking case and then Mike Jeffries being released. And there is a difference legally in the two cases and in the allegations of the cases. So we'll get to all of that. For now, let's just make sure we cover the indictment, and then we may have to break that down into 2 episodes. We'll see how calm my dogs stay. So the crimes that are alleged in the downloadable document below, we'll have all of that linked in the description. You can go to the case file at themourningfeed.com. You can go over to our court section, and we have his case file under the pending criminal matters that you can see there, all the different cases he's on there. You can also view the documents. We have them right there on our website. You can download them, view them, whatever you'd like to do with them for free. So the crimes that are alleged in the document are basically a typical pattern of coercion that we see more and more all the time, actually being tried in court, which is amazing, criminally, not civilly. So it all centers around offering vulnerable individuals money, promises, drugs, the promise of success in exchange for trust, which later leads to those individuals being sexually or otherwise physically and or emotionally victimized. The crimes that Michael Jeffries is accused of follow that common pattern as seen in many other civil and criminal lawsuits. Here's the most important part that I want to make sure that people include when you share information about this case or you talk about this case. The FBI is asking that anybody who may have been a victim of Jeffries is encouraged to contact the FBI as they are continuing to investigate allegations against Jeffries. You can contact them at 1-800-CALL-FBI. So, very simple, 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's how you need to get a hold of them. This is the indictment. I have it up on the screen for anybody who's watching on a video platform. This indictment goes over some really horrific things. Now, Michael Jeffries, the former CEO, is still married to his wife of many, many years. I believe they married in the 70s. He does have a partner, though, a male partner, who is a co-defendant in this indictment, Matthew Smith. James Jacobson. James Jacobson was employed by them, and he is accused of assisting them in recruiting individuals and helping manage these parties that they were hosting. So it says that from approximately 1992 to 2014, the defendant, Michael Jeffries, was the chief executive of Abercrombie Fitch, a fashion clothing retailer that owned and operated retail stores around the world. The Jeffries family office was established to manage Jeffries' personal income and assets, which included properties in Watermill, New York, and other cities, basically, around New York. The defendant, Matthew Smith, was the defendant, Michael Jeffries' romantic partner, as well as an employee of the JFO. In addition to managing assets, the JFO employed personnel who facilitated Jeffries and Smith's personal and social lives by, among other things, arranging their travel and managing their properties and financial affairs. Says that James Jacobson, also known as Jim Jake, also known as Mrs. Cook, and also known as Todd, was employed by the defendants, Jeffries and Smith, to recruit, interview, hire men to perform commercial sex acts for Jeffries and Smith, including at their New York properties. From approximately 2008 to 2015, the defendants, Jeffries and Smith and Jacobson, together with others, operated an international trafficking and prostitution business. During this period, Jeffries and Smith relied on their vast financial resources, the power from being the CEO of Abercrombie, and numerous people, including Jacobson, and a network of employees, contractors, and security professionals to run a business that was dedicated to fulfilling their desires and ensuring that their international trafficking and prostitution business was kept secret, thereby maintaining Jeffries' powerful reputation. So as part of this international trafficking business, the defendants, Jeffries and Smith, they paid for dozens of men, including, among others, the John Does that are mentioned in this complaint, and their identities, they are known to the grand jury, to travel within the United States and internationally to meet Jeffries and Smith in various locations, including New York, as well as hotels in England, France, Italy, Morocco, and other places for the purpose of engaging in commercial acts with Jeffries and Smith and others. Some of the men traveled to and were paid to attend multiple events that were all based around hosting these sex-related events for them. Jeffries and Smith, through JFO, recruited, hired, and paid an exclusive set of household staff, to facilitate and supervise. This indictment also alleges that they were paid to act as security as well for these events. So, nobody in, nobody out kind of thing, it sounds like. Not good. So, over here it says that at the direction of the defendants, Jeffries and Smith, plus the staff that were present, observed and acted as security, including controlling entry and exit to these events. They also provided, the staff provided Jeffries and Smith and the people who attended with alcohol, muscle relaxants known as poppers, lubricant, Viagra, condoms, and other items. As directed by Jeffries and Smith, the staff also directed men to, among other things, wear costumes, use toys, or prepare for particular acts. Either the defendants, Jacobson, or the staff paid the men for attending these events. So these are really, really bold, really bad allegations for Jeffries. Again, Jeffries is now 80. It says in the complaint that all three defendants and others acting at the direction employed coercive, fraudulent, and deceptive tactics in connection with the recruitment, hiring, transportation, obtaining, maintaining, solicitation, and payment of the men to engage in commercial sex. For example, Jeffries, Smith, Jacobson, and others, they would employ a referral system, an interview process that failed to inform the men of the details of these sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of these events. They would get there and, they would get these promises of an opportunity in modeling, being involved with the company of Abercrombie and Fitch in some way. They would be lured to these events. And then, as you're going to see here in just a moment, they would at times be actually injected with things in order to make them, I would assume, compliant, because that's usually what the purpose is. So anyways, these are just very disturbing, very difficult to digest, coercive actions against people who are just trying to make it, trying to be successful. It's very disturbing. And then these things would later, I'm sure, be held against them. So in cooperation with their silence, of course. So it says in here that they caused the men to believe that they were attending these events, that they could yield modeling opportunities with the company and otherwise benefit their careers, or that not complying with the request for certain acts during these events could harm their careers, including, among other things, referring directly and indirectly to modeling opportunities that did not exist, incorporating Abercrombie products in the sex events, and providing men with itineraries for the events that did not refer to commercial acts, and instead resembled those that often are sent to models for photo shoots, and thereby obscuring the nature of the actual events. So, it's a whole bait and switch, and then, they're forced into silence unless they want to be embarrassed by, what has happened to them, because that's the normal reaction, even though no one, there's no reason to be embarrassed by things happening to you. The people doing things like this to people should be the ones embarrassed. So they would require the men to relinquish their personal items, clothing, wallets, cell phones, store them in an inaccessible location, require the men to sign NDA agreements, and they would intentionally recruit heterosexual men, certain of whom were unwilling to engage in these acts, including very invasive acts that a heterosexual man probably doesn't want to be part of. we won't get too graphic here, and insisted that the men engage in these particular acts. That is assault. They pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, muscle relaxants, so on, required the presence of staff during these activities. So you have a lot of people involved with this. So we have the full document, all 16 counts, and all, some of the more graphic specifics that we haven't got into here. We don't like to do that to people who may just want to hear the details and not hear every single graphic detail about it. But everything's on our website. You can go there and check out the document for yourself. And it's available to download there for free if you would like to do that. So keep this in mind, and please share out this case and this story in the context that we need to make sure that any other victims are located. So please make sure that we get this information out there, and encourage people to call 1-800-CALL-FBI if they happen to have been a victim, or maybe even know someone who may have been a victim of Jeffries or of Smith or of Jacobson. All three men have been charged in this indictment. Like I said again, Jeffrey's wife has not been charged in this indictment, just his partner, Matthew Smith. So those are the details so far. There have been a lot of, like I said, scandals over time with the company Abercrombie and Fitch, and we'll see how they rise from the ashes this time.